Good afternoon, everyone. So, the old wagon over here has been getting a lot of publicity lately. We had a little run-in with a Jeep Trackhawk the other day. Ended up running him, friend of mine, so we're going to do it again. And I'm going to give him all of it the next time. But it was a great, super close race. And I love close races. I think I held just a nose on him until I hit the limiter in fourth gear. And then he came right around me. But then we got another run where we went a little faster. We went from a 60 roll. Obviously, starting at 60 miles an hour benefits me in the stick shift car, especially being rear-wheel drive versus an all-wheel drive vehicle. That race, I got him by about a full car. But super close race. We ran 4 times, I believe. Pretty much same outcome. He was just hanging right at the front tire with his front bumper pretty much. So I only had a nose on him. And then at 150 mile an hour when I topped out of fourth gear, I'm not power shifting into fifth gear in this thing. I'm pretty good at throwing gears, but I'm not going to power shift fifth gear to win a race. So he came around me then, but extremely close. So we're going to go over this thing a little bit because numbers are flying around out there everywhere. Everyone's saying, oh, it makes 1,000 horsepower and this, that, and the other thing. And so the Jeep is a 1,200 horsepower package. I believe it makes right around 930 to the tire. That is a ton of horsepower out of a four-wheel drive, 5,000 pound SUV. There's no denying it. That thing's making some steam. 8-speed, quick shifting, automatic. It's really hard to handle in a stick shift rear-wheel drive car. I've spun a couple of the runs, and it was a little colder yesterday. Today it's quite nice out, but yesterday it's still a little bit colder. But anyways, so let's get to the bottom of it. This thing has made 1,000 horsepower on the dyno. That is not where it is set up to run on the street. The most the car makes on the street is right around 900, about 890. That is also not where it was set yesterday. Yesterday, the car was just boost only, no nitrous, no extra power adders or anything. It was 12.5 pounds of boost, and that was all it is. The car makes about 780 wheel horsepower. The car is way more stock, I think, than people realize. Yeah, here, look under the hood for y'all. It's a stock cubic inch motor. It does have good pistons. It does have good rods in it. It is still the stock factory throttle body. It is not a 102. It is not a 90, it is nothing. It is a stock factory throttle body. So it's 87 millimeter throttle body. I believe the Jeep was running a 105 Kong throttle body. It was huge. Factory supercharger. It has been ported. Faster Proms down in Florida does my tuning, and he ported that. It's the factory heads. Say hi to the cat. Hi, cat. It's the factory heads. They've been hand ported as well. Local shop to me did that, and also assembled my motor. It's been running great. But yeah, it's got a 241 upper pulley on it. 4.5 inch Faster Proms intake. Faster Proms coolant tank over here for the blower. And that's it. It's got 2-inch stainless works headers hiding down in there. This thing does not have near as much work as people think. It's not a crazy, blower port job. It doesn't have a big throttle body. It doesn't have a crazy big intake on it. It does have an E85 sensor in it, so I do run it on the E85. It's got 1050 injectors in it. But that's it. It's a super simple setup. Still has the factory mufflers on the back of it. The cat is really devaluing my car right now. Come on, Smokey. But yeah, the car weighs 45 with me in it. I had a passenger, so we were probably about 4650 or somewhere right around there, a little bit more maybe. The Jeep, I believe, weighs 5,400 pounds. I do not know if he weighed it with himself in the car or if that was just the vehicle itself. But the Jeep's about, 900 to 1,000 pounds heavier. But it definitely moves out. But yeah, I mean, I drive this thing all the time. It's on a 19-inch Nitto NT05R. They're about shot. But that's what I always run it on. The car's been a 1003 at 146, and that's how it gets driven. So, I take it everywhere, drive it. The dog's been back here. But everyone's been throwing around crazy numbers. Oh, that Cadillac makes 1,000 horsepower. Yes, it has made 1,000 horsepower. It was not set up for 1,000 horsepower yesterday, nor has it ever made 1,000 horsepower on the street. The car has a hard enough time hooking at 780 horsepower. At the track, yes, at the track, it does have 100 shot of nitrous on it. At the track, it gets sprayed. On the street, most of the time, it's pointless. In one of the videos, you can see I went sideways in one of the videos and almost clipped the back end of my car into the track hawk. So there's no point in making any more power on the street. It just can't hook it on anyways, especially not in Pennsylvania here. It's still cold. Once it gets a little warmer, then it's a different story. But we're going to get a rematch. We're going to go out. We're going to run them again. And we will spray it. Then at least we're 900 to 900. And then we'll see the outcome. Obviously, my disadvantage, manual car. Quick shift and 8-speed versus manual car. Hard to do anything about that. But we're going to give it a shot. So, anyways, we'll take this thing for a quick little drive right now. BTR stage 3 cam there. Normally idle's pretty good, but it's cold. Car's been sitting outside overnight. Alright, so here we are, taking this thing for a little drive up the road here. It's a great car to drive. I sold my C5 Corvette about 6 months after I got this car, and my C5 Corvette was a head cam package car with a small shot of nitrous on it. Car made about 500 wheel horsepower and about the same amount of torque. It was a great car, but man, once I got into one of these things, there was just really no need for the Corvette anymore. This car pretty much does everything that the Corvette does, plus you can haul 4 other people with you if you really have the urge. There's been many times I've had 3 people in the back seat of this thing and somebody up front, and we're still out carrying on racing Mustangs and Camaros and Hellcats, on the streets of Mexico. So it's a super great all-around car. It drives 100% like stock. I've got a monster triple disc clutch in it, and the car just drives amazing. Biggest downfall is, I don't even want to say it's fuel economy, it's just the size of the tank. The tank is so small that it just really limits your range. Like 200 miles, you've got to stop and find fuel. Where the Corvette would go 350 or a little better sometimes. But the Corvette had literally the same size tank and got another 5-6 miles a gallon better fuel economy down the highway. So that's the biggest downfall of the car. But man, I know it's not the fastest car due to it being a manual, and a lot of everyone else, you know, all went out, bought automatics, and that's great for drag racing, but I really don't drag race that much. I love to roll race this thing. I go to the Slipstream racing events and do a lot of roll racing with it. Obviously visit the streets of Mexico quite often, and I also like to do autocross with it. So for me, the manual car was definitely the way to go, and then it also allowed me to be able to get rid of a manual Corvette and not really feel like I was missing that driving dynamic that you just can't get with an automatic. I've got the other cars at the house that are automatic if I want to go out and just cruise around in something, but I just love being able to road gears in this thing. Downshifting, upshifting, down a back road. You wouldn't think this car is like a good handling car, but it actually is not bad. It's pretty well balanced. It's very communicative in the steering, so you know exactly what the car is doing under you. So it may look a little wild from the outside, the back end's kind of wiggling around and stuff, but it's super controlled in the way it drives and handles. So that's what I like about it, because I drove a couple automatics before I settled on one of these, and I didn't want a sedan. Something about the V2 sedans, I just don't necessarily care for how they look. Didn't want a coupe because that's too much the same as the Corvette. So when I finally started driving a wagon, I decided that's what I wanted. I wanted a wagon. And then when I test drove a manual, it wasn't in a wagon, it was a sedan. Well, once I test drove the manual, then I knew that's what I had to have. I had to have a blue manual wagon. And lo and behold, the car ended up finding me. It was a couple years after looking for one. I'd already bought the blue Escalade because I couldn't find a blue wagon, so I found a blue Escalade, figured I'd supercharge that, which I did. And then about 2 years later, I found this. It literally stumbled upon me where I worked at the time. We got it in on a wholesale trade, and I ended up buying it, and have loved it ever since. So here we go. We'll roast some gears up through here.